Welcome. Today, we're digging into a huge question, maybe the biggest question. Who is God? I don't mean just some abstract idea, but what is his actual character like? We're going to walk through a lesson that's designed to peel back the layers and get to the very heart of who he is. So the lesson kicks off with this really powerful statement. The idea here is that the world is kind of lost in a fog, not because people don't believe in God, but because they have the wrong picture of him. His character gets twisted or misunderstood, and people lose sight of who he really is. This really sets the stage for why getting a clear picture is so incredibly important. Okay, so if so many people have the wrong idea, how do we get back on track? Well, the lesson doesn't just leave us hanging. It actually lays out a specific learning route for us to follow, one that focuses on the core attributes that really define God. So let's dive in and follow that path together. Our journey starts right at the center of it all, with what the lesson calls the very core of God's character, his holiness. Now, this isn't just another item on a list of traits. It's presented as the absolute foundation, the quality that shapes and purifies everything else about him. So, what do we actually mean by holy? Well, this slide gives us a really direct and clear definition. It's not just about being good or moral. It's a total, complete separation from anything evil or sinful. Think about it. Something that is 100% pure, 100% good from start to finish, with absolutely no dark corners or hidden motives. That's the idea of holiness. And here's where it gets really interesting. This slide shows how holiness isn't a standalone feature. It actually affects everything else. First, it purifies his love, which means that love is completely free from any selfishness. Second, it guides his power. An all-powerful being could be pretty scary, right? But a holy and all-powerful being means that power is never ever abused. And third, it makes his knowledge totally trustworthy. An all-knowing being could be manipulative, but holiness guarantees that his knowledge is always used with good intentions. It's the quality that makes all his other attributes perfectly safe and good.
Okay, so if holiness is the core that purifies everything, the lesson then points us to love as the very essence of who God is. This builds right on top of that foundation of holiness.
This verse right here is absolutely central to the lesson's point. And you gotta notice the very specific wording. It doesn't say God is loving, like love is just something he does. It says God is love. It's the very fabric of his being. It's what motivates everything. And that one little phrase completely reframes how we can understand his character. So here's the crucial distinction the lesson makes. We all try to understand God's love through our own experiences, right? But our love, human love, can be messy. As you can see here, it can be distorted, imperfect, even selfish at times. But the lesson describes God's love as something entirely different. It's perfect and pure because it flows from his holiness. It's completely free, never manipulative, and it's deeply relational, always seeking connection. Next, the lesson looks at God's character through his role as the creator. And it does this in a fascinating way by looking at two different Hebrew names for God that show up right at the beginning of the Bible. These names reveal two very different, but equally true, sides of his nature. This illustrates it perfectly. On one hand, you have Elohim. This is the transcendent, all-powerful God, the one who speaks and entire universes leap into existence. He's massive, majestic, almost too big for our minds to grasp. But then, the story immediately zooms in and introduces Yahweh. This is the personal God. He isn't far off. He's the one who gets his hands in the dirt to form a human being and breathes his own life into him. This is the covenant-keeping God, the one who comes close. So he's both infinitely powerful and incredibly intimate. All right, so we've looked at God's holiness, his essence as love, and his dual nature as a powerful yet personal creator. But where do we see all of this in one place, in the clearest way possible? Well, the lesson directs our attention to one person as the ultimate revelation of God's character. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. This statement from Jesus himself is absolutely profound. It's presented as the ultimate answer to the question, so what is God really like? The lesson argues that if you want to understand the Father, his heart, his character, you just look at the Son. Jesus isn't just a messenger. He is the perfect, living, breathing picture of God. And this is where it all comes together. In Jesus, we see that perfect, selfless love we were just talking about. We see a life that is the very definition of pure holiness. And we see that incredible mix of the powerful and the personal, the Elohim and the Yahweh, all in one person. The lesson points out that Jesus is, quite literally, God choosing to get close to us. It's the very meaning of one of his names, Emmanuel, God with us.
So, we end up right back where we started. The whole point of the lesson is that having a clear, true picture of God's character, as holy, as love, as both powerful and personal, all shown to us in Jesus, is the foundation for having any kind of real relationship with him. It's the way out of the fog of misunderstanding and into true knowledge. And that leaves us with a final thought just for you to reflect on. As we've walked through these attributes, which one of them resonates the most with you right now?